We've named this series Practical Wisdom, and we want to describe why. If you asked patients, physicians, and medical students to name some of the things they value in a good doctor, you'd likely hear a few recognizable buzzwords. We hope that our doctors are professional, empathetic, knowledgeable, compassionate. We want doctors to be studious, diligent, and most importantly, excellent at both diagnosis and treatment. Today, all clinicians study hard and are encouraged to empathize. All medical trainees are studious and aim to be professional. Yet, when describing the ideal doctor, how often do we hear about wisdom? When Jesus said in Matthew 10, "Be wise as serpents, harmless as doves," the word for wisdom which he uses is a derivative of the Greek term phronesis, meaning practical wisdom. In 1993, the great physician and bioethicist Edmund Pellegrino deemed this practical wisdom an indispensable virtue of the medical life. But today, wisdom can feel quite dispensable to the doctor's practical work. In Academic Medicine's 2010 centenary, which celebrated 100 years since Abraham Flexner made his call for medical education reform in 1910, one article included a list of 30 values commonly identified by medical students and physicians, collected from several sources between 2000 and 2010. Wisdom, prudence, and judgment do not appear on this list. Fast forward to 2015 in a similar review, but this time looking at 88 attributes and values associated with humanism. And again, wisdom does still not appear, even as an attribute like funny does. Don't get us wrong, we also hope to develop a warm sense of humor as physicians. And to be fair, these articles don't claim to be exhaustively representative of the attributes of a good doctor. Even so, it is striking that a list of nearly 100 values would leave out wisdom. Moreover, the places we do see wisdom mentioned often reduce it to the application of clinical algorithms and formulas, such as the Choosing Wisely campaign, in which clinicians learn to avoid unnecessary tests in favor of evidence-based practices. Again, this is a good thing, emphasizing things like antibiotic stewardship, for example. But at the same time, this seems to replace the virtue of wisdom with that of risk reduction. As physician Abraham Nussbaum put it in The Finest Traditions of My Calling, One Physician's Search for the Renewal of Medicine, wisdom is a quality that was once so central to society that the Greeks and Romans personified it as a divinity. Now we use it as a decoration for our formulas about the efficient and effective control of a population. To simply name the absence or misapplication of wisdom in medicine is important, but we must understand why wisdom, and specifically practical wisdom, is central to good medicine among the Christian life. Practical wisdom is a concept originally explored by Aristotle, who believed that ethics are best understood in terms of virtues, things like courage, justice, and indeed wisdom. Aristotle understood practical wisdom as something like knowing what is fitting for any given situation, less like an ability to choose the correct answer in a multiple choice question, and more like an ability to read the room. Phronesis is the ability to frame things correctly and then act rightly. Aristotelian scholar Alfried Hoff describes it this way: phronesis is no more and no less than a moral and practical power of decision. Another way of saying it is how psychologist Barry Schwartz and political scientist Kenneth Sharp put it in their aptly named book, Practical Wisdom. The person of phronesis chooses to do the right thing in the right way. One helpful metaphor from the world of gross anatomy that helps us understand practical wisdom as both a moral and practical virtue is the phrenic nerve. Both phronesis and phrenic share the Greek root of phren. As first years in anatomy know well, the phrenic nerve sends motor fibers to the diaphragm and is vital for the work of breathing. The phrenic nerve also receives sensory information from the pericardium, the fibrous sac holding and surrounding the heart. So, like the phrenic nerve innervating the diaphragm, practical wisdom helps us breathe in the world around us and breathe out the most fitting response. And like the pericardium sending signals up the phrenic nerve if the heart is under too much pressure, phronesis alerts us when something seems wrong at a heart level. It is this union of both the practical and the moral that makes phronesis of importance to all in medicine, but of particular relevance to Christians in healthcare. Earlier we mentioned Jesus in Matthew 10 saying, "Be wise as serpents, harmless as doves." When Christ says be wise, he doesn't seem to mean just sit in your chair and think. He calls us to go forth and act rightly. If Sophia, where we get our word philosophy, is theoretical and abstract wisdom, the philosopher who never leaves her chair, phronesis is grounded and practical. It is the gritty wisdom of the medical student putting on his short white coat and struggling to find his place as both a learner and future practitioner. It is the resident flinging her stethoscope around her neck and trying to figure out what it means to be an excellent doctor in the world of modern medicine. It is medical workers at all stages, trying to wrestle with the good of health alongside end-of-life care, labor and delivery, well-child checks, and the contemporary problems which continue to arise in bioethics. Perhaps more importantly, the physician of practical wisdom is the type of colleague and friend we all desire, and indeed the type of physician we want to become. Because of this, theologian and psychiatrist Warren Kinghorn argues that phronesis should be the goal of medical formation, in which we learn the intellectual content necessary to practice good medicine, while simultaneously binding that intellectual content to the moral virtues necessary to use our knowledge justly. If practical wisdom is indeed the overarching virtue for medical formation and crucial to allowing us to serve Christ, how then can we learn to cultivate it? As Aristotle initially argued, and Christian theologians and philosophers have reinforced after him, it is impossible to develop virtue without finding one's place in a virtuous community. For Christians, this is the church. Maintaining one's Christian community in the form of church, small groups, and organizations like CMDA or MCO recurrently draw us back to the vision of the good portrayed by Christ's life, death, and resurrection. It gives us a platform to engage the simple but deep questions about what medicine is and what it is for, as well as who we are as human creatures and image bearers. What theologian Robert Jensen has called the praying, sacrificing animal. It is this vision of health in the body that helps us develop an understanding of practical wisdom that informs our work, witness, and the decisions we make as Christian clinicians.